You're listening to The World at 8 with Lynn Mozart. The World at 8, the number one in nationalist news.
Highlights of the news today, Friday 5th of September 2014. Ministers have put Britain's military strength at risk by bungling defence cuts, damning Commons report reveals. UK to contribute 25% of NATO's 4,000 strong rapid reaction force to counter Russian threat. UKIP councillor Roger Lord quits party in anger at being trampled on to make way for Douglas Carswell. Outrage as West Sussex College serves up halal meat without telling students, just because it's cheaper. Salafist Muslim group forms Sharia police patrol in Germany. First German shipment leaves for Iraqi Kurds. Thought for the day, truth or dare. And finally, goodbye Joan. UK news. Ministers have put Britain's military strength at risk by bungling defence cuts, damning Commons report reveals. Ministers have been accused of putting Britain's military at risk by bungling money saving army reforms. The respected Commons Public Accounts Committee said it was astonishing that the Ministry of Defence failed to consult the head of the army fully before pushing ahead with deep cuts to regular forces. It also failed to give proper consideration to whether it was possible for reservist numbers to be almost doubled by 2019, and it managed to squander millions of pounds through a flawed deal with Capita. The verdict, delivered in the cross-party committee's report on the controversial Army 2020 programme, comes as the NATO leaders gather in Wales for a key summit. The scheme is intended to save more than £10 billion over a decade by cutting 20,000 personnel from the regular army and increasing reservist strength to 30,000. But the National Audit Office, NAO, has suggested that the recruitment target could take 6 years longer than planned to hit. World at 8. Only in the UK could the real armed forces be cut to the quick whilst trying to encourage amateurs to go to war when they have to work full-time in Civvy Street. I don't see how this can achieve anything other than reducing our capacity to defend our own doorsteps. UK contribute 25% of NATO's 4,000 strong rapid reaction force to counter Russian threat. The UK is to contribute a quarter of the troops in a new 4,000 strong NATO rapid reaction force for initial deployment in the Baltics, easing anxiety amongst member states near Russia's border that the Kremlin could repeat its aggression in Ukraine elsewhere in the region. The announcement will come against the backdrop of peace talks involving Russia and Ukraine in Minsk, the Belarusian capital, aimed at achieving a ceasefire to bring an end to the months of fighting between Ukrainian forces and pro-Russia separatists. We must be able to act more swiftly, the British Prime Minister David Cameron told NATO leaders at the beginning of a two-day summit in South Wales. I hope that today we can agree a multinational spearhead force deployable anywhere in the world in just 2 to 5 days. World at 8. Notice he hasn't been too quick to help the Christians in Iraq or Syria, has he? We really need to keep out of this one though. It really is not the business of us, the UN or NATO. Ukraine means nothing to them in reality. UKIP councillor Roger Lord quits party in anger at being trampled on to make way for Douglas Carswell. Mr Lord wanted to be the UKIP candidate for the upcoming Clacton by-election but was sidelined for Douglas Carswell, a Tory defector. He has now quit the party, complaining that he has been sidelined and trampled on after being effectively relegated in his bid for the Clacton by-election to make way for a Tory defector. Mr Lord, who previously expressed annoyance that he had already formed a campaign team and would continue in on his bid, has now also stepped down from his role as county councillor for Brightlingsea. World at 8. Farage at power building yet again and proving that his people mean nothing to him compared to the money and voters the other guy will bring in. When will we wake up? Outrage as West Sussex College serves up halal meat without telling students, just because it's cheaper. Outrage has erupted at a popular college after it emerged halal meat is being regularly served to students without them knowing it because it's cheaper. Since the summer, Chichester College in West Sussex has been dishing up halal chicken and lamb to unsuspecting diners at their main refectory. The move came after a sudden rise in the number of Middle Eastern students at the college, which has been rated outstanding by Ofsted and takes pupils between 16 and 19. The college said there has never been any intention to avoid telling customers. World date, no intention not to tell, this is splitting one's infinitives in it. No intention not to tell means every intention not to inform. Why should we continue to take Middle Eastern students anyway? Are the colleges that hard up? European news. Salafist Muslim group forms Sharia police patrol in Germany. Mainz, Germany. Small groups of hardline Salafist Muslims have been patrolling the streets of a German city, hoping to influence and recruit young people, police said. The groups were seen in the western city of Wuppertal, wearing bright orange reflective vests with Sharia police on the back. This was seen as a violation against Germany's public assembly law and charges were filed, police spokesman André Schwanecki told NBC News. Officials say they have increased the police presence in the city. World date, and what were the police doing at the time? Water hoses and dogs are the answer. Surely they can manage that even after the last war. Spain opens door to ban on burqas. Spain's Interior Minister Jorge Fernandez Diaz on Wednesday said the Spanish government would consider including a ban on burqas as part of a packet of planned new security reforms. Speaking at a press conference, Diaz said that the ban on burqas could be included in the final version of Spain's draft citizen security law, Spain's 20 Minutos newspaper reported. The draft bill, yet to be passed in the country's parliament, already includes provisions banning people from hiding their faces in demonstrations, Diaz noticed. World news. First German shipment leaves for Iraqi Kurds. The first shipment of German supplies has been sent on its way to support Kurdish forces in northern Iraq, a Joint Operations Command spokesman said on Thursday. The military equipment travelled from Oran an der Müritz to Leipzig Thursday morning and was loaded onto an Antonov aircraft that will depart during the flight for Erbil, the seat of the Kurdish government. Shiites, Kurds and Sunni leaders are currently in negotiations as how to best form a new government in Iraq. The German military had already sent out humanitarian aid in August to displaced people in northern Iraq. The stop in Baghdad was not required on that occasion. Combat helmets, body armour and equipment for mine detection have also been delivered to assist in the fight against terrorist Islamic group ISIS. A date has not been set for the delivery of German weapons into the combat zone, though officials say it will happen in September. World date. Oh, so no saving of the Christians there then, just the Kurds. Lovely. Thought for the day, truth or dare? Do the warmongers, the bankers, the establishment and the nationals ever print or say the truth? Or what is at the heart of many of the most serious problems facing the UK and the rest of Europe? In a word, no, niet, nada, non and more no's. It has become endemic that in the West we print what will satisfy, intrigue or confuse the public, and not necessarily in that order. We are quite used to seeing small articles or even smaller TV snippets on rapes, murders and worse, and most of us just think, yep, another immigrant at it again, although the reporters rarely, if ever, give us nationalists the satisfaction at first. Take the latest beheading. Of course a Muslim did it, it is their signature, and he was probably told by Muhammad to kill the poor old person, and to make matters worse, he may well get away with it because of his religion and the Western attitude towards Islam, which is frankly gut-wrenching at best. To say nothing of the human rights of this retard, which will count more than the right to live out an old age for his victim. In fact, as quoted on one website, the arrested man is currently in hospital. Police will decide after he's been treated when he can be interviewed. I would interview him all right. He's well known around this area, so he is a Muslim madman. Lovely. Only in England would this happen. Any other country, if he'd been non-Muslim, he would have been killed on the spot. No police, no hospital and no news. In fact, in China, Russia or Japan, it wouldn't have mattered what or who he was after killing an old lady. He would have been shot. The problem with this crime is that, similarly to the Lee Rigby killing, it occurred in an enriched area of London, which, if truth be known, practically the whole of London nowadays. Can you see the headlines, if in the States? Asian man shot after murdering old lady. Yup, that's the way to do it. In fact, our police are the only police in the world who are not armed on most occasions, and this with the deliberate withholding of the means of ordinary people to purchase and own licensed guns. It is a move to remove any means of self-defence for the general population, should, or if, when the Shiite hits the fans. Don't take any notice of the salutary tales from the US on the safety of not being armed, because it just ain't true. What is true is don't bring a knife to a gunfight, and as the old tried and true method of the police or even our own army protecting us outside the cities, don't even go there, as it simply won't happen. I would love to live in a world where people were peace-loving, kind and considerate, but no such world exists with the human animal. And because it doesn't and couldn't exist, why should ordinary people be denied the only way to keep alive should such circumstances arise? Even in the days before guns, ordinary people had swords, hatchets, knives, spears and farming implements, all good for a poke in the guts. No longer. We are supposed to act as if we do not have enemies within our midst and to welcome strangers unreservedly. And I think you know me well enough by now to know exactly what I think of that one. Back to the media misinformation gaffes. You'll be pleased to know that the one British Ebola patient has been cured, so now it's fine to allow all the sodding black Africans running riot in Calais over here because we've cured one of our own. Of course, when you look into the actual cost of curing this young man, you'd be horrified. It has cost thousands of pounds to the NHS in staff and flight costs alone, even allowing for the very prohibitively expensive medicines he was given. Rest assured we, in the general public, well the white ones that is, would not benefit at all if Ebola, or rather when Ebola comes over. Why? Because we would fail on age, smoking, weight and ethnicity, plus the postcode lottery. Of course any African exhibiting symptoms would be rushed to an NHS hospital immediately and cured. So if you don't have to behead anyone to qualify, just be black, Muslim or mad, or preferentially all three. Misinformation also cuts out or blacks out certain news items which it is deemed are not good for the public to know, as it would fan the flames of racial or religious hatred. Well, on that one, if one could fan the flames of any hatred towards Islam, that would be a good thing. You see, I'm looking now at the picture of a young and beautiful Syrian Christian girl smiling into the camera, and then looking at the picture of her lying raped, beaten, mutilated and dead on her bed. This is a picture the world will not see unless spread on the World Wide Web. To show why these 20-odd ISIS extremists did this to one young girl, a large wooden crucifix has been wedged through her mouth and down her throat, pinning her to the bed. As the shot is from the upper torso only, one can only imagine if something similar has been done lower down. This is the picture that Obama and Cameron and the EU should see as they funded these bastards in the first place under the well-known idiocy of democracy for the Islamic world. Are you confused by what is going on in the Middle East? Well, let me explain. We support the Iraqi government in the fight against ISIS. We don't like ISIS, but ISIS is supported by Saudi Arabia, who we do like. We don't like Assad in Syria. We support the fight against him, but ISIS is also fighting against him. We don't like Iran, but Iran supports the Iraqi government in its fight against ISIS. So here we go. Some of our friends support our enemies, some enemies are now our friends, and some of our enemies are fighting against our other enemies who we don't want to lose, but we don't want our enemies who are fighting our enemies to win. The big risk is that if the people we want to defeat are defeated, they could be replaced by people we like even less. And all this was started by us invading a country to drive out terrorists who were not actually there until we went in to drive them out. It's quite simple really. You do understand now, don't you? So do you? Because I don't. I am totally banjaxed by it all. To me a murdering Muslim is just that, not to be hospitalised, cared for or even taken to trial. Winch and Hawser and Crane would be the just and fair punishment of on-the-spot judgment. Muslims do it and never face any form of retribution for it, even when they take our free education, money and housing and then decide they want to be true Muslims and fight a jihad for a country they've never lived in, or if they did it wasn't good enough for them in the first place. Am I getting this right now? I watched a portion of Cowboy Builders this week and almost heaved. They were chasing some Muslim retard in Oldham, the new Mecca, who had luckily just struck to his own kind in fiddling them out of money. Two things shocked me. One, the fact that it was all northerners who got together and gave their services free to put in order at great expense to the programme the would-be huge extension of some ruddy Asian woman who had a shop in one of the enclaves in the vast amount of terrace houses known as Mecca 2. All these house owners were female and Bangladeshi and all had thousands of pounds cash which they paid this builder for really ghastly work. So who steps up? The northerners, who are supposed to resent these people and actually rebuild. Have they lost it, or have I? Am I in England or bloody Bangladesh? All these houses had huge extensions for their huge families, and when one family of the woman whose shop cum house had been left open to the weather was finished and our idiots had to provide a playroom for the awful looking two boys. And when they opened the door to one room and it was wall to wall family, and this was just one woman. So we've proved to the world that despite all the tales of Muslim sex gangs, drug peddling, selling alcohol to minors as well as cigarettes, running dicey taxis and cars, operating foul eating houses and takeaways, buying up rows of terraced houses or semis and building huge edifices behind them so that the council cannot check or doesn't bother, opening mosques or Islamic centres in the centre of each area of towns and villages and trying to get Sharia law imposed, us Brits up north are only too happy to help, fund and encourage these bastards to get on with it. Every time you see a Dagenham dustbin trailing along with around 6 kids, every time you see a taxi driver, shopkeeper or petrol attendant, think of the picture of the young Christian Syrian and don't think it cannot happen here. Media makes or breaks, truth or dare every time, and it isn't until you find the truth you will know what to do about it. And finally, goodbye Joan. Today we say goodbye to comedian Joan Rivers. She died Thursday 4th September at the age of 81 of complications following surgery on her vocal cords. Miss Rivers was not the first female comic to become a household name. Phyllis Diller and others went before her, but she was amongst the first mainstream funny women to go dirty. Miss Rivers has entered show business in the 1950s over the objections of her parents, Jewish immigrants from Russia, who had sent their daughter to Barnard College, the all-woman school not known for producing raunchy comediennes. She would later poke fun at her heritage. A Jewish porno film, went one joke, is made up of 1 minute of sex and 6 minutes of guilt. And to show nothing and no one was above her wit, in 1986 Joan said of her beloved Edgar at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas after his death, "My whole life has been so horrendous this year. Thank God my husband left in his will that I should cremate him and then scatter his ashes in Neiman Marcus. That way he knew he would see me 5 times a week." Goodbye Joan, your wit will be missed. You've been listening to The World at 8. I am Lynn Mozart and I and the team at World at 8 and Radio Britain wish you all a very happy and a very safe weekend.